Good afternoon, YouTube. Thank you for joining in for another video. If you aren't familiar with what it's going to be, we are going to be using the Devcon, it's called plastic steel putty, to be able to reinforce the cylinder sleeve of this stock sleeve B20. And if you aren't familiar with the build, this is going to be a nitrous build that we're trying to put together with a ported P8R head, as well as YCP pistons and forged H-beam rods. So this isn't going to be a crazy amount of power. This is just going to be a nitrous build, like I was saying. So we aren't worried about doing too much pressure onto the sleeves. And instead of going with the cylinder support system, which is what I have in my personal race car, which is a great product, by the way, not knocking it 100%. We're 100% in support of them, but we are trying to be as budget as possible. So we are just going to use this $40 Devcon solution, which hopefully it turns out well. And I want to see what you guys think about it in the comment section below. And of course, we're going to be showing you the process right now. And first off, we are going to start by cleaning up the water jacket, which goes around the sleeve. Since this is an open deck, this is where the water flows through. We want to make sure that this is 100% bare metal. That way we can make sure that the Devcon seals to the cylinder and to the water jacket 100%. And for that, we are going to be using this die grinder with an attachment for a sandpaper bit. We're just going to clean that up very well. After we do that, we're going to fill the jackets with sugar, granulated sugar. Doesn't have to be anything special, but the key of using sugar is because this is easily dissolvable by water, and we're going to set the Devcon over top of it. That way it dries, and we want it to dry on the top portion of the cylinder. That way it doesn't protrude where the water itself is going to flow. In other words, we don't want it to go down in this area. As you can see, this is the water pump location. We want it above right here. That way the water still has flow, and we still have reinforcement of the top of the sleeves. And we are going to be doing that all step by step. So I'm going to set up my camera and we can start recording. We're going to be cleaning a little bit with a non-residue leaving brake cleaner. This is a fast drying solution. And we just want to get all the chalking and residue of having dirty water in here. So whoever owned this block that I bought off of, or the last person to use it, probably wasn't using straight coolant. They might have had a water solution that over time started to corrode the sleeves, leaving behind a nasty residue. So this will help clean it up. Alright, sorry for the noise. I've got my compressor going in the background. But if you can see the shiny part, that's the exposed metal of the sleeve and the water jacket and the whole area right there. So we've got all of that down to bare metal. Now I'm cleaning it out with some brakes parts cleaner. I still have the water pump removed. That way everything can drain out. And after that, I'm just drying it off with some compressed air. Make sure that everything is ready to go. Next thing that, now that I have everything drained off, I'm going to put the water pump back on. And then I'm going to start setting some sugar into there. All right, now we've got the water pump bolted in. It doesn't have to be crazy sealed or anything. It's just granulated sugar that we're going to avoid leaking out. So I'm going to set the camera down and start putting the sugar in. Basically, very simply, I'm going to open it up and then make it pointy on one end and then pour it in evenly on all sides, leaving maybe about an inch to 3/4 of an inch gap up top. That way, that's where we're going to put our Devcon. All right, I've got the sugar pretty much set evenly all throughout, and it's not 100% perfect down to like the 1/4 of a millimeter or whatever, but it's pretty damn close. So we are going to move on to the next process. The Devcon solution does come with a whole bunch of instructions in multiple languages, so it's good if you don't speak English, Spanish, or Italian, or French, or whatever. It has a whole bunch of options for you. So that basically just tells you the strength and tensile strength and all the specifics on it. Basically what we're gonna do, this is the hardener. It's 49 grams. And then this is the actual putty itself, and that is 405 grams. So as you can see, it's a lot more in here and here than there. So that's going to be mixed together. It comes with a little spatula. So basically what we're going to do is over some plastic, just mix it up with the spatula and whatnot. And then we're going to put it into the Ziploc bag, cut a little hole on the side, and then squeeze it out. That way we get an even path all throughout there. And we're gonna start small layers and then work our way up. That way we're most likely even all throughout, just in case it's not enough to fill up. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I know it's very messy and I'm gonna have to clean my hands a lot, but I've got it all into this little Ziploc bag. I've probably lost about 10 to 20% of it by not doing it very well, I guess you could say. But I'm gonna start putting it in. Just put the camera in so you can see. All right. So the little slit that I made in here so the Devcon can exit is pretty small. So it should be enough just to sit right in. Take it from where there's a lot and put it kind of where there's not as much. All right, I have it pretty much as even as possible all around. I hit it with a little bit of heat off of this propane torch. That way it just releases a little air bubbles. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, whatever. That's just what it said online, and I'd rather do it than not do it. So it's not 100% even all around like I was saying, but any support is good support. I know the B20s are notorious for cracking within the centers right here. So what I did was clean up a little bit extra before I dropped the Devcon in it, and then put a little bit deeper the Devcon in those areas. Hopefully that provides some support. If it doesn't, then oh well. And if it does, for 40 bucks, that was awesome. Bye. So right now the process would be let it dry for I think 24 hours. So what we're gonna be doing with this, like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna have the block surface 84.5 millimeter pistons, the YCPs. So the sleeves have to be opened up a little bit like that. It has to be bored over a little bit. So that's another reason if a little bit got into the sleeves, I'm not too worried about it because that's all gonna be machined out. So yeah, that pretty much sums up today. I'm gonna skip forward to a couple days from now. That way I can show you the block with it already dry, and I can start drilling out before we take it to the machine shop, drilling out a little hole for the water jackets to actually have water passages. Okay, so we've skipped forward to the next day. It's been a little bit over 24 hours, which is the exact dry time for the Devcon solution and everything. Right here I have the Devcon already sealed into the block, as you can see. And right here, I'm placing an OEM head gasket, which is obviously not the unit that we're gonna be using for this. This is just one for reference, being held on by some dowel pins just so we can make sure everything is nice and exact. And all of these holes that you see right here are basically where we're gonna be drilling out for coolant passages to come by. And then for example, like on a longer one right there, we're gonna be drilling out about 2 or 3 holes, depending how many I can get. And then same thing right there. Then there's some that are meant to be over by the center of the sleeve where a lot of B20s have that crack issue. We're not gonna drill it very close. We're actually gonna go a little bit more back, which shouldn't be an issue since it's just fluid. It'll be able to transfer and flow in kind of like a U shape once it's under pressure, obviously. So we're not worried about that. We're just gonna drill a little bit away from the center. Sorry, my camera keeps on unfocusing. What I have right here is a 15/64 drill bit, just a regular drill bit that cuts well through metal, because the Devcon is kind of a metal solution. So we are gonna just make sure that the dowel pin has everything aligned how it should, the head gasket on the up position how it should from the factory, make sure everything is correct, and then we will start drilling right now. I'm just gonna set my camera down and put it on time-lapse mode real quick. All right, so I'm taking the dowel pins and the head gasket off. Obviously, this is a messy job. Like we said, everything is gonna be machined. So the next step would probably be to drain the block of the sugar, which was keeping the epoxy up in its place while we did this whole process. So I'm gonna remove the water pump as well as the front plug right here, which is a 19mm bolt if I'm not mistaken. And then we'll wash this out, make sure it's all nice and clean and ready to go to the machine shop tomorrow. All right, so we have everything pretty much washed out. Obviously, this will not be the final cleaning since this is still going to the machine shop for the all the machine work that needs to be done. So we are pretty happy with the final product. As you can see, everything is drilled out in accordance to the OEM head gasket. All the water passages have been opened up, and I tried to deburr it as best as I could. I'll probably go over it with a little Dremel and clean it up, but there isn't really much left to do. But the Devcon must have penetrated pretty well. But yeah, that pretty much sums up the process. Tomorrow we're going to take it to the machine shop and have this decked as well as bored over and prepared for the new rotating assembly. One thing that I did notice when we removed the plug right here, not only the sugar and water came out, but a whole bunch of gunk from the previous engine setup that this was running in. Not my personal car, but it did have a lot of gunk set up in it. So that's one important thing when you're building any motor, just to make sure that you can clean out the cooling system to the best capacity. And I just want to give a huge thank you once again to Hunter Toon for letting me in on this little process that he did, so we can all, you know, try to find a budget solution. Just like him, I have used personally the CSS system, which is the shirt that I'm using right now. By no way am I knocking it. I think it's a great product, but if you're looking for something a little bit cheaper, maybe not as strong, but something that you can do on a budget, this is definitely something you can do. Both processes are more cost effective than a traditional sleeve, so I think this is great for the DIY guy. And hopefully Hunter's doing great numbers with the boosted application of the Devcon, and I'll be showing you the all motor application of it. Hopefully with a good nitrous amount of nitrous, we can kind of push this to the limits. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you want to see more stuff like this DIY, just shoot me some recommendations and I'll do my best to include it in the channel. And like always, thanks for watching, guys. Peace.